Oh man, how much engineering skills do I use, or how many of the tools that I learned when I was in college do I use constantly on a daily basis after 10 years on the field almost? Wow, it's gonna be 9 years. Why do I I keep getting confused sometimes, like how many years I'm about to be on the field, but I want to say almost 10. That's for sure. I started in 2012 and it's gonna be 9 years in about 5 months. Yes, in May or June, I think it will be 9 years that I'll be on the field. But let's just say almost a decade. How about that? Do you agree with that? But I got a question the other day on one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of for engineering students. And the person asked me, hey, actually, no, it was on YouTube. Actually, it was somebody on YouTube that asked me, hey, how much, like percentage wise, how much engineering skills or tools do you actually use on a daily basis? And actually, I thought this was a really good question, because a lot of the times, one of the misconceptions that we have when we are in engineering school, before we graduate, before we enter the professional world, we think that we have to memorize and we have to know every single piece of information that we learn when we are in the school, whether it is physics or whether it is programming or whether it is labs. Like, we're thinking constantly that we have to overload our brain with all this information, and that if we don't remember it, then we're going to be a failure. If we don't remember it, we're not going to be able to succeed. We're not going to be able to move up. We're not going to be able to open our company. And so I think it's time for me to share with you how much engineering actually I use percentage wise. Now, I do not have a formula that I can just figure things out. So the best I can do is just give you an estimate overall throughout my career, how much engineering skills, or how many engineering skills percentage wise actually I use on a daily basis. And again, this is ever since I started back to 2012. So we'll get to that, but first, if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Alex Isidro. Here we talk about engineering, career, and life analysis. And today, okay, so I'm gonna give it to you straight up. And to be completely honest with you, a lot of people may even think that I'm not an engineer. And actually, sometimes I even think, I'm like, man, like I even forgot a lot of the things that I learned in engineering school. Like recently, one of my nephews asked me for help with his physics homework. And because I don't deal with physics on a daily basis, I mean, I know the basics of physics, but all the specific formulas and all the different angles at which things are moving. And I was thinking, okay, this is going to take me days to remember. And so I advised my little nephew, all right, man, like I think you're going to be better off with a tutor because it's going to take me at least a week to remember all these formulas. And then time is valuable, so I don't want to waste it for you. And so let's put into numbers how much engineering I use. And I want to say my best estimate, I want to say maybe 10 to 20%. And I know that a lot of people may be like, wow, that's insane. Like, how could you even possibly call yourself an engineer if you barely use any of the skills that you learned when you were in university? Hey, the amount of skills that you're going to use once you enter industry, it's going to be dependent on the industry that you go into. It's going to be dependent on the type of work that you start doing. If you start doing design, if you start doing simulations, if you start doing CAD work, of course, are you going to be using a little bit more technical skills than somebody that goes into data analysis, than somebody that goes into logistics, than somebody that goes into project management. You know, and I want to say that depending on which career path you take as an engineer, as you move through your career, which if you haven't watched that video yet, I highly encourage you to go check it out. I'm going to put it in the description, where I basically outline the 4 paths that engineers usually take based on my observations. Depending on which path you take, the amount of technical skills that you will use, aka the amount of skills that you learn in school, the amount of technical information you use or technical tools will decrease over time, because over time you start being more specific with the subjects or the type of work that you do in your company or in your industry. Let's say, for instance, if you are someone that is designing, let's say for the sake of argument, if you're designing valves and you're designing valves for 5, 6, 10 years, the amount of physics or the amount of engineering technical skills that you'll be dealing with are going to be mostly related and just to valves. And so you're going to become an expert in valves. Right? If you are someone that programs or develops websites for a living, the amount of technical skills that you're going to be developing are going to be relevant to developing websites. You're going to be the one going out there and finding the latest programming languages. Maybe you're finding the latest designs. And so you are going to be the one that's just expert in your specific niche. So you're going to niche down as you progress through your career. And so you're not going to be using everything that you're learning in school. School just sets you up, and it sets you up nicely to take any path that is related to your field. So over the years, you're going to start niching down. You're going to be limited in the amount of tools that you use, because you can't possibly use everything. You cannot be an expert in everything. You cannot possibly know it all. Now, you may have a clue of what's happening. You may have a clue on how to do certain things, but when it comes to the specifics, and when it comes to, let's say, if you are designing valves for a living, and you may have a clue on how a pump may be designed, you may have a clue on the electrical circuits of the pump itself, but you're not going to be the one that is just designing a pump or a compressor from scratch, because your niche is valves, So that's the point that I'm trying to make here, that as you graduate school, you're going to start niching down, maybe here and there every couple of years. Maybe you want to switch industries, maybe you want to switch careers, but the bottom line is that I do not use, and you are not going to use 100% of all the skills that you learn in engineering school. And so I just wanted to shine a little bit more insight, and also help the young engineers understand that you are not going to be using everything. You may have some clues on what's happening in other related fields based on what you learn in school, but when it comes to your own career, there's no way you're going to be using 50% of everything you learn in school, or 100%. I don't see it. And if you are actually in that case, if you are one of the, I don't know if anybody does this, but if you actually do use everything that you learn in school, then let me know in the comments below. Sometimes you don't even use anything that you learn in school. Sometimes you actually do something on the side, you study something on the side, and then maybe you start doing, like, I don't know, maybe accounting or programming or IT as a mechanical engineer. I've seen people work in IT as mechanical engineers, which was kind of like insane to me. But hey, if it's something that's gonna is gonna bring you joy, something that's gonna give you good money, something that you're good at, and something that gives you autonomy, and something that is flexible, and something that in a company that really treats you well, then of course, what's wrong with that? If it's something that you're enjoying, who cares how much skills of engineering you actually use? You have your degree, you proved that you can actually go through a rigorous program, that you can understand complex problems and complex concepts, and you can overcome all those obstacles that you dealt with. Now it's just going to be up to whatever industry it is that you go into, So that's all I wanted to share in this video. If you are someone that uses more than 25-30%, let me know. I would love to have a conversation with you and see how that takes place. But that's all I wanted to share in this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And with that being said, peace.